And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence of me, Ernest Hancock, and Larken Rose. He's going to be up with his family at Pork Fest. I've been, trying to make a decision. I got to be there the weekend when Pork Fest starts, the weekend before, to speak at a Libertarian Convention event that's being put on where I have a lot of, people I respect a great deal. We're going to be talking about the future of the Libertarian movement. And I guess they're thinking more in terms of the party apparatus. And I'm just, whatever, man. It's Judge Buttrick. He's a Libertarian candidate for governor here in the 90s that we were very supportive of, and later became a sitting Superior Court judge. And, he's a pretty hardcore. I mean, he was chairman of the platform committee with the Libertarian Party back in the late 90s. Then he saw it just stripped away as time went on later. So he's got a lot of criticisms of, and at the Freedom Summit a couple of years ago, he just slapped Wayne Allen Root big time. So he's due for another slapping, so that'll be interesting. And then Mary Ruwart will be speaking, and myself, and we'll participate in various different panels on the future of the movement. And I have a totally different perspective. I'm just, Libertarian Party who? I mean, they're so irrelevant anymore. They're so trying to be, country club palatable, so their mother-in-law doesn't get mad at them or something, and they're being eclipsed by a Republican. Ron Paul, whether you vote or not or believe in the political process, at least you got somebody up there that's taking stances that, heck, even the Libertarian Party won't do, much less Republicans, and it is very popular. So after that weekend, then Pork Fest starts. I got to make a decision soon, like today, what airline tickets I'm going to get when I'm going to come back, because I may go up to Pork Fest, and Larken's going to be there with his family playing songs that he wrote while in prison. Nobody knows. So Larken, tell me a little bit about some of the songs that you did, what we have to look forward to.
We'll be performing 6 of the songs I wrote while in prison. I've been a musician for ages before I was even into politics, and every once in a while I tried to make the two mix, and it always just sort of sounded contrived and annoying. You can't explain Austrian economics and have it be emotional and moving. It just doesn't work. But for some reason in prison, suddenly I got to writing songs that I thought actually meant something and actually sounded good. I guess I'll leave that up to the listeners to decide when they hear them.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Yeah, you let me know. Actually, with any luck, in a few days, we'll be posting us practicing one song on my YouTube channel. I'm youtube.com/Larken Rose. Just because we have this set up in our living room right now. But it'll basically be a bizarre combination presentation of playing these 6 songs, and then my wife Tessa and I taking turns saying a few things about the issues that they're about, whether it's war or the obedience to authority that police do or anything else. I think it'll be a really interesting, very unusual presentation. Might have to wait till afterwards to see how much other people like it, but
I'm looking forward. I'm going to try. I've been trying to convince Sierra. I'd go up there for sure if Sierra go with me. You going to go, Sierra? Come on. She went last year and had a good time, but she'd rather be here with her boyfriend and everything. You talked about Stanley Milgram's work. Go ahead and explain that real quick, and why is that relevant?
Right. The shorthand of it is he was a professor of psychology or sociology. I forget. He did these tests basically to measure to what extent people will do nasty, horrible things to a complete stranger just because a perceived authority told them to, without getting into the details of the experiment. Actually, if you get a copy of The Most Dangerous Superstition, it gets into these because the results of his experiments were very telling. The shorthand is basically people will injure and harm and kill a complete stranger because they imagine that the person telling them to is authority. And there doesn't have to be a threat involved, and you don't even have to allege that the guy that they're supposed to hurt is a bad guy. Just all it takes is if they perceive an authority figure giving them a command to hurt that guy, they'll do it. And this is true of Americans. This wasn't a study in Nazi Germany. This was in the U.S. And it's been replicated a couple times with the same results, which is that most Americans will hurt or kill a complete stranger at the behest of a perceived authority, even with no threat to themselves.
Well, did he discover that that was an aspect of humanity, or we've, in this country, been indoctrinated to the point to be that way?
He didn't get in. He sort of wondered aloud a little bit about why are we this way and what should we do to not be so much this way. Even he couldn't give up his superstition and authority, because he would sort of say, well, of course we need some authority, but look how bad and horrible and nasty this is. He never really dug down to the underlying thing. He just did very, very thorough, very interesting tests of how people behave when confronted with an authority saying, do something that you know is wrong.
You know what it reminds me of is there was a book that gave the detailed percentages of how many men actually fired their weapons on the line in World War II.
Yeah.
And they were so surprised at how few, they'd aim high or they really just, we were brought up in such a way that we didn't really want to go putting a bullet through somebody's head.
Yep.
And it was such a problem that they, that's when we get into, by Vietnam, it's kill, kill, kill. I mean, they're really indoctrinating the soldiers and having to strip them of all of their humanity and what made them American, and turn them into this machine. And the thing that I have to ask is, was it our culture that did that? Was it our agrarian lifestyle? Was it, just mom and apple pie and grandma and grandpa or whatever, and they had to strip us of that, and it was a conscious effort, and you have this consumerist mentality that they had to try and convince us to follow the herd and preyed into our Freudian weaknesses and on and on and on? Or are we that way naturally, or we have to be created? And that's the next step. And I would like to get your opinion. Which way do you think it is, or do you know?
I would basically sum it up as this. The belief in authority is the exact opposite of being a human being. And thankfully, most of us are human enough that we don't want to hurt or kill strangers, even if we don't like them, even if we think they did something bad. I mean, even if we think they're a mass murderers or something. Still, the thought of killing another human being, to our humanity, we say, I don't want to do that, which is where the indoctrination into authoritarianism, it's up against that big wall of, darn it, these underlings, they act like human beings. We can't have that. And so this huge, many-year-long indoctrination into do what you're told, obedience is a virtue, that's what it takes. And yeah, the militaries openly look into and study how can we make these people kill whoever we tell them to kill without hesitating and thinking about it and doubting it and acting like they're human beings or something. How can we make them into stupid robot killers?
Well, when they go busting into a mud hut in Iraq and they just lay waste to everybody in sight, I can't imagine that the Army is going, you know what, we need to retrain these people not to be that way. I mean, it's like they trained them to be that way.
Right, that's exactly what they're trained to be. They're trained to be monsters. And my book actually gets into why training people to be authoritarian, it will make them do evil. It won't make them hold back once they start. Like you look at the war atrocities, oh, how could that be? That's what you made them into. That's what they were trained to be. That is what authority makes people into. Unthinking monsters. And when you add that to their humanity, it turns around and they get more vicious than just a robot would be. They blame their, you get Gitmo, where they're happily torturing human beings. That's what authority does.
Well, what I want to discuss when we come back is what do we want to train people to be? Do we want to violently oppose the man? Or do we go give him a big, giant, big brother hug? We'll talk about more when we come back in just a little bit with Larken Rose.